Mysterious radioactive cloud that blanketed Europe traced to Russian nuclear facility.
Here's a summary of the article.
The probable culprit behind a mysterious cloud of radioactive particles detected floating above much of Europe in 2017 appears to have been identified. At the time, many speculated that nuclear facilities in Russia were responsible for what was perceived as an accidental ruthenium-106 release, despite denials at the time by Russian authorities. While the airborne radioactive matter released was not harmful to human health, it nonetheless constituted the most serious release of radioactive material since the Fukushima accident in 2011, with maximum values of 176 millibecquerels of the isotope per cubic meter of air. Specifically, the new evidence, based on modeling of air mass movements around the time of the accident, indicates Russia's Mayak nuclear complex in the southern Urals should be considered as a likely candidate for the release, the researchers conclude. If the researchers' modeling is correct, the accident occurred sometime in late September 2017, on either the 25th or 26th of the month, almost exactly 60 years to the day after one of the worst nuclear accidents in history at the same site. The Kyshtym disaster, ranked as the third most serious nuclear accident ever on the International Nuclear Event Scale. The neutrino research to be conducted in Italy, called SOX, was cancelled only a number of months after the radioactive cloud was released in late 2017, after the required cerium-144 necessary for the experiments failed to be obtained. For neutrino physicist Jonathan Link of Virginia Tech, who was part of the SOX research team awaiting the isotope, news reports of the radioactive cloud floating over Europe carried a deeper significance that at the time was understood by very few.
This post received a score of 10,445, with an upvote ratio of 97%. Here are the top comments in response to this article.
Greater than shortly after the release, Russian officials suggested the radiation surge might have been due to a crashing satellite, with the isotope being released from the battery of a spacecraft re-entering Earth's atmosphere. You know, not for nothing, but why is it that for decades, the Russian side of a story is usually something completely beyond the realm of realistic possibility? I mean, I know all countries lie, but at least other countries seem to put a little effort into coming up with a plausible lie. It's just laughable at this point. Smiley face.
They're showing off how much they can lie and get away with. Mainly so the state can pretend to their own population that the rest of the world are foolish, because that level of brazen bullshit is supported by enough die-hard people there that it helps control their political climate. Same situation as obviously assassinating people in other nations.
Yup, it's a power play, and one that works every damn time since no one is willing to actually do anything about it.
What can we do about it? Economic sanctions. But that requires a bunch of nations to unite in common cause, in order to try and prevent Russia by circumventing the embargo by buying or selling from someone else. For better for worse, the world economy is connected like a living thing. When a tumor develops, you fix it by removing it from the rest of the living thing. Problem is, most governments are too apathetic, too stupid, or too corrupt to do anything.
Greater than what can we do about it? Economic sanctions. But that requires a bunch of nations to unite in common cause, in order to try and prevent Russia by circumventing the embargo by buying or selling from someone else. Exactly. Like I said, nobody is actually willing to do anything. Sanctions would require sacrifice by the nations that rely on Russia for their winter energy needs, and they won't do it, and the US already has so many sanctions on Russia that there's simply nothing short of war we can do to them.
Start converting to electric heating, one apartment block at a time. Won't be cheap, but how long do you really want to subsidize Russia? Oil and gas dependence are geopolitical vulnerabilities, at least for everyone who isn't a petrostate. Which was acceptable when there were no alternatives. Now there are alternatives, but they're maybe more expensive, or require some infrastructure investment.
Greater than won't be cheap. And you've lost all interest.
The issue is that the conversation is dominated by people who only recognize military force as being relevant to national security. In debates over energy security, it is relevant that we have energy falling from the sky. We can also reduce the amount of energy we need in some cases, such as with housing upgrades. Part of it, I think, is that many conservatives hear efficiency or solar and think hippies, and they stop listening.
This video was automatically created by Reddit to speech. The article and comments in this video were selected from Reddit according to their upvotes, and any paraphrasing was performed by smmry.com, without any human intervention.